Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on my channel. And for today's book review, we're going to be reviewing Breaking Point by Mads Rafferty. I'm just going to let the cover get into focus. Now, she's another independently published author. I believe she's actually from Australia. And this book follows Grayson Crawford and Bella Stratford. Now, I give this one a solid 5 stars. Some of the major tropes in this book are forced proximity because she's his personal assistant and fake dating because he needs to sort of like up his PR image. So they date as like a PR relationship. But then they actually fall in love. So many beautiful moments. And this also deals with like some heavy trauma for both characters. And I think the way it's handled is so beautiful. I'm just gonna put my stack of books away that was holding this one up. Now, like I said, I give this one 5 stars, and I cannot wait to read the second book in the series. I think the way the author handled each character's trauma and was like so real and raw, but also amazing. So Grayson Crawford, he kind of has gone off on the deep end ever since his brother died. His brother died in a car accident when a drunk driver hit them, and his brother was not wearing his seatbelt. But Grayson has always kind of like struggled with the idea that he was the one driving, so he felt like he was the one who killed his brother, and so that sort of kind of made him rely on alcohol to have fun and to let loose, and just sort of rely on alcohol too much, and sort of created an environment where he didn't have a good image when he would go out to celebrate with his fellow teammates after a win or after a lose. And then Bella, her mother, has cancer, and she gets laid off from her job and needs money to be able to pay for her mother's cancer treatment. So her and her friend are just like get together one night, they drink, and they apply to a bunch of jobs. And she applied to this job, and she didn't kind of fully remember applying to it. She gets an email back for an interview, and she's like, why did I apply to this job? She's like, I've been a personal assistant once before. She was like, and it wasn't that great. The guy was really not fantastic. And then she looks at the email that says the potential salary, and then she saw the job listing that said the potential salary, and she remembers that's why she applied. It was a high enough salary that she could kind of be able to afford more of her mother's cancer treatments. So there's that. And so then they start working together. She ends up like cooking meals for him and stuff. And the minute he sees her that first day, he thinks she's so beautiful. At first, he's like thinks that he's somebody that he brought home from like from his night out the night before. He's like, I must have drunken too much. He's like, I feel like I would remember bringing her home. And then she's like, no, I'm actually your personal assistant, and she's like, I actually kicked some puck bunnies out, like, and they had photos of you, and I got them like to delete the photos on their phone. And then eventually his agent like, oh, you need somebody for like a PR relationship to help clean up your image, because you risk being like traded off the team because of your image and how you're playing and everything. So his agent's like, well, why don't we have Bella be your like fake girlfriend and you fake date? So he asked Bella, and Bella's like, I don't want to do this. No. And then eventually, there's a new trial for a cancer drug that her mother could be a part of, but the cost would be like $14,000 a month to take the medicine. And she's like, oh, I still can't afford that with the money she's making. But then she's like, hey, maybe I could afford it if I fake date him, because I'd be paid to fake date him. And he just really wants to fake date her because he's like kind of like getting feelings for her. So he's like, maybe if I fake date her, like we'll actually really fall in love. Like in the back of his mind is probably what he's thinking. So she comes back and she's like, I'll do it for $14,000 a month. And he doesn't question it. He's like, yep, deal. His friend is there, his best friend and fellow teammate is there, and he's like, well, I think he's whipped, guys. I think he's whipped. So then they start fake dating. But then they actually do sort of fall in love with each other, even if like they don't admit it to each other. And there's a moment where he hasn't heard from her for 2 days. He was at an away game, and she won't answer. And then he comes to her place, and the front door is locked. He's like, I haven't heard from her. Like, I'm concerned. And then he like jumps over the fence, and finds like an open door in the back, and he goes in and he's like calling out her name, and then eventually he goes to the bathroom upstairs and he sees her sitting there on the floor, and she's actually having a flare-up from endometriosis, and he didn't know that. And he just is there, and he gets an ambulance to come and take her, and like he's just like there for her in the hospital. But at this point he still doesn't know that her mother is sick with cancer. And like her mother and her best friend are also worried about her. Her mother is in the hospital for getting one of the cancer treatments, and she hasn't told him, like I said, that her mother has cancer. And so she wants to go visit her mother in the oncology department. And so she gets up to go, and he's like, "Oh, where are you going?" She's like, "I'm just going somewhere. Like, I'll be back soon, like I promise." And then he follows her, and he sees her go into the oncology department. He's like, "What, is she like sick?" And I just like don't like, is she sick with cancer? I didn't know this. And then he sees her talk to her mother, and then he realizes like, oh, her mother has cancer, and then like things kind of click for him. And then there's also afterwards, she has to stay in the hospital an extra day, but her mother can go home for cancer treatment, and he offers to like take her mother home. He's like, "Oh, I'll take your mother home, like it's okay." And then when he takes her mother home, um, he sees a stack of books in her mother's room, and her mother's like, "Oh, I haven't been able to read those in months because she's like too weak to be able to like read them and stuff." So he's like, "Oh, I can set you up with like and gave some earbuds and an Amazon Audible account kind of," and he sets her up with that eventually. He's like, "Oh, I can read you these books." So he like reads her a book, and then she talks about how she knows she's gonna die and she's not gonna be there for important moments in her daughter's life, and she wants to be able to like be there for her daughter and like give her like kind of advice and stuff like that. And so she was like, "Well, why don't you write letters?" She's like, "Oh, I can't write because my hands are too weak." So he offers to help her write letters, and I think that's beautiful too. There's also another beautiful moment where Bella gets a call that her mother's cancer treatments have been fully paid for, and it clicks for her that he did it. And just the way that they help one another, because there's a moment where he's like, "Okay, she tells him like, you have to stop the alcohol." He stops the alcohol, and then there's a moment where she hasn't heard from him in 2 days. She goes over and she punches in the code to his gate, and it doesn't work. She's like, "He changed the code on me." And then she scales the gate, like he scaled the fence, kind of very similar. And she sees him like sitting outside his door of his house drunk, and at that point he'd been sober for quite a while until that moment. So she kind of like gets him in the house and takes care of him, and he just like feels so guilty for having like pushed her away and all of that. Just so beautiful the way like each trauma was handled, and the way that she eventually, when he sobered up, she like had a meal ready for him, and she sat him down on the couch and was like, "You didn't kill your brother." She like looked up into it. She's like, "You didn't kill your brother, like it was a drunk driver, like it wasn't your fault." And she's able to get him to see his parents, because he hadn't really seen his parents in a year, because he felt so guilty, because he felt like, "Oh, I killed their son." And I think just like the way they helped each other through their traumas was just so beautiful. And I think it was like a perfect first book to a series, and would have not what I expected when I read it, but at the same time, so beautiful. And I'm excited for the second book in this series. And it's also another independently published author. And I've read so many. Actually, every book I read this week was by an independently published author. And I love that there are so many great ones out there. And I love just supporting them, because I know that it's a little bit tougher to sort of break out into like the space than it is if you're like traditionally published with a publishing house that has the money to back a marketing campaign, to send you on a book tour and things like that. So I just thought that supporting independently published authors is great. And like I said, this was another 5-star book. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So that is all for this video. If you want to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, you can, because then you'll never miss another brand new video from me. You can also comment down below any hockey romance recommendations, series, and also any cowboy series recommendations. I would love that. So you can leave those in the comments down below. You can follow me by going to @romanceblvd on Instagram and @romanceboulevard, all spelled out, on TikTok. As of filming this video, I'm only one follower away from 1,000. So just can't wait to when I hit 1,000. I'm gonna be like post a little exciting post, because I'm so excited about that. But yeah, that is all for this video. Bye.